Well, our top story: in 1 week, between the 9th of June to the 16th of June, the Chinese People's Liberation Army moved more than 200 trucks, four-wheel drive vehicles, bulldozers and earth-moving equipment into the Galwan region. Satellite imagery available to NDTV that we will share soon explains the extent of the build-up in 1 week during this time period. In addition to vehicle movement and the shifting of accommodation, the images show two key areas of concern: debris at the likely site of the skirmish between Indian and Chinese soldiers on the 15th of June, a day before these most recent satellite images were taken, and a new angle on the imagery to reinforce the point made by NDTV earlier, that China was looking to disturb the flow of the Galwan River, perhaps even obstruct it. But first, let's talk about the area here. The Galwan River marked in blue, the site of the clash is a dot over there that you can see prominently marked. The red line is the line of actual control. To the right is Aksai Chin and to the left is Ladakh. Let's go to the next slide and give you details of the Chinese build-up in Galwan. On the top you see images from the 9th of June. On the 16th of June is the image from the bottom half. In the bottom half you would see dozens of vehicles. We actually counted the vehicles, 79 vehicles, just 1.3 kilometers from the line of actual control. On the 9th of June there were no vehicles present here at all, just some small structures. Again, if we stick with these images, one of the 9th of June and the second of the 16th of June, in a location about 2.8 kilometers from the line of control, in the bottom side you can see there are 127 vehicles which are visible. We counted all of them. On the 9th of June, a week earlier, the image on the top, no vehicles visible at all. But there were some surprising trends as far as Chinese accommodation was concerned. On the 9th of June, there were dozens of prefabricated huts and tents which were located about 2.9 kilometers from the line of control. But by the 16th of June, these had been removed. There were some vehicles in the images below, but very few of the huts that you see above. The question is, where exactly did these huts go, and therefore where did the Chinese soldiers go? Were they deployed on the ridge lines? If so, does that give them an advantage in terms of positions with India? Look at the image on the 9th, and this is startling. Have there been efforts by the Chinese to block the Galwan River? We're bringing you a new angle to the story broken by NDTV a few days back. On the left you see the unobstructed flow of the Galwan River. It's brown in color, it goes all the way up to the line of actual control. On the right, on this particular day, on the 16th, it was actually flowing blue in color, possibly because there was no construction activity upstream. But at a particular point, there are bulldozers which stop it, beyond which you can see only the dry riverbed. If you want a clearer image of this on the 16th of June, well, here it is. You can see bulldozers blocking the river. The normal river flow is blocked and you see an entirely dry riverbed. Again, this is just 600 meters from the line of actual control. So let's travel along the riverbed and go to that line of actual control, which is marked over here by red. And for the first time, on the right-hand side, and we've enhanced this image a little bit for you to be able to see it clearer, you see what appears to be debris at what is called Patrol Point 14, which is just about here in this area. This debris could possibly be linked to the clashes of the 15th of June, in which 20 Indian soldiers were killed in action, and where India says that more than 40 Chinese soldiers were killed as well. If you look at the image on the left, on the 9th of June, there is no debris at this site at all. The Ministry of External Affairs has responded to the statements issued by the Chinese spokesperson and has said that attempts by the Chinese side to make exaggerated and untenable claims about the line of actual control are not acceptable and not in accordance with China's own position in the past. He also said, "We expect that the Chinese side will sincerely follow the understanding reached between the two foreign ministers to ensure that peace and tranquility exists in the border areas." Earlier, the Prime Minister's office responded to barbs from the Congress over the Prime Minister's remarks at the all-party meeting that neither has anyone entered Indian territory, nor is anyone present in Indian territory currently, and nor is any Indian post captured. The PMO statement called this criticism an attempt to give a mischievous interpretation to Prime Minister Modi's remarks.
न वहां कोई हमारी सीमा में घुस आया है, न ही कोई घुसा हुआ है, न ही हमारी कोई पोस्ट किसी दूसरे के कब्जे में है.
Less than 24 hours after a controversy erupted over Prime Minister's statements at the all-party meeting, his office issued a clarification saying that attempts are being made to give a mischievous interpretation to his comments. As regards transgression of the LAC, it was clearly stated that the violence in Galwan on the 15th June arose because Chinese side was seeking to erect structures just across the LAC and refused to desist from such actions. The clarification came after Congress questioned the Prime Minister and a war of words between the two parties.
The Chinese claim the entire Galwan Valley, and the Chinese are present in the Galwan Valley. The Prime Minister says there are no Chinese troops in Indian territory. Keep the two statements next to each other. The conclusion is a horrifying conclusion.
आज जो है वो देश एकजुट होकर के पूरी मजबूती के साथ देश की सुरक्षा के लिए, देश के सार्वभौमिकता के लिए, देश के सम्मान के लिए एकजुट होकर के एक स्वर में बात कर रहा है. लेकिन इनकी जो बेसुरी बातें हैं, इनकी लफाजी से भरी हुई बातें हैं, अज्ञानता से भरी हुई बातें हैं, उसका तो कोई हिसाब किताब जवाब दे नहीं सकता.
But the PMO clarification has failed to convince the Congress, which has called it a lame attempt to obfuscate the truth. The Congress has asked, if Chinese troops are not present in Indian territory, why is the MEA harping on disengagement and de-escalation as late as on 17th of June? Also, why is the government silent on intrusions in the Pangong Tso area? The BJP going all out to attack Rahul Gandhi.
और देश के फौजियों का मनोबल गिराने का काम तुमने पकड़ा है, और जो भाषा का तुम इस्तेमाल करते हो, मैं दुख के साथ कहना चाहता हूं, भाषा जो भी कोई व्यक्ति इस्तेमाल करता है वो अपने परिवार के संस्कारों को भी प्रतिलक्षित करता है, और कम से कम भारतीय परिवारों के परिवेश इस तरीके के संस्कार नहीं होते जिस तरीके की भाषा का तुम प्रयोग करते हो.
But as India faces the Chinese challenge, what are the government's options? Does it have a clear roadmap to respond to the sacrifice of 20 of our brave soldiers? With Sunil Prabhu in Delhi, Rohit Wellington for NDTV.
Well, joining us now, Air Vice Marshal Manmohan Bahadur. He has flown in this area in the Galwan Valley extensively, one of India's finest helicopter pilots. Supriya Shrinate, the national spokesperson of the Congress, Lieutenant General BS Jaswal, former Northern Army commander, and Priyanka Chaturvedi, MP of in the Rajya Sabha with the Shiv Sena. Thank you all very much for being with us. Supriya, since there has now been a clarification made by the External Affairs Ministry on the Galwan situation, have all the doubts which the Congress had not been answered?
Thank you very much for having me on the show, Vishnu. And I will respectfully say no. And I will say no simply because, having been a TV journalist, I saw what was happening yesterday. At 9 p.m. primetime television, the Prime Minister comes in almost what is a statement that the entire country is watching and every channel is beaming live. He says there is no intrusion. If I may repeat what he said in Hindi, na koi ghus aaya hai, na koi ghusa hua hai. Or this is what he says, and everybody is made to believe that not a single intrusion has happened in the Indian territory. The statement that came in today afternoon, which was a clarification, is a clarification for the 15th June incident, where we lost 20 brave hearts. And so that's restricted only to that. Yet, yes, the intrusion attempts there were repulsed. The question that we are asking is, from the 5th of May to the 15th of May, whatever intrusion one has heard of from army chiefs, from retired generals, from defense experts, what about those?
Sure.
Are there no incidents of intrusion in the Galwan Valley or the lake or the hot springs? I mean, these are questions that I think everybody wants answers to. Because
okay, all right, let's try and bring in General Jaswal here. You've raised important points. General Jaswal, I think what Supriya is saying is important. She suggests that, look, it's not just Galwan. There have been several reports of incursions. In fact, I would add to say that there are very clear satellite images as well of the Pangong area, where there appear to be places where India can no longer patrol. So therefore, when the Prime Minister yesterday made these remarks saying that there is no intrusion, why would he do that when the extent of the intrusion in some areas appears to be quite clear?
Well, I do respect Mrs. Supriya for her contention. Now, as far as the finger areas, I'll come segment by segment. Finger areas concerned, there is transgression, difference of perception. They used to come here earlier also, and they've come now also. Now, they are, of course, occupying that area. So, there is no intrusion per se. They are within the limit of those two transgression lines which we have identified.
No, but most respectfully, General, I'm not sure that's an accurate assessment of the situation in Pangong at all. We used to actually patrol between what is called finger 4 and finger 8. They are physically restraining us from doing that. So therefore...
just a second. The earlier also, the Chinese also used to patrol up to finger 4, right? And if in case we had a face-off, we used to go back.
Correct.
This is a zone of transgression, difference of perception. So let that be very clear. They claim up to finger 4, we claim up to finger 8. Now this transgression has been continuing and we've been having face-offs. Even at finger 5 we have had face-offs. Who says we don't have face-offs? But now they have come up to their claim line, up to finger 4. And they've occupied the heights on top also.
Correct.
Now, this is as per their perception of LAC. Where transgression is there, you know, there's a difference of perception. So, let's not dilate further on it. It is in that very zone wherein they have come and occupied. Up to their perception.
All right.
To other areas. Sorry?
Okay, fair enough. I just want to bring in, we'll talk about, I'll come back to Galwan with you in a bit from now. Priyanka, is that explanation satisfactory, that there's a difference between a transgression and an intrusion?
No, I am not in agreement with the entire the explanation that's coming, simply because LAC for Shiv Sena and for what we believe is finger 8. That's our LAC. And that there's no compromise in that. For the Chinese army to try and seek positions beyond finger 8 is something which is we consider an intrusion. And the government has to explain to us as to why we should be compromising on our territorial integrity as well as our, I would say, where we stand as comparison to what China wants to push us to be. And that is something that the government of India needs to explain. While we stand with the government of India, while we stand with whatever decisions that they take, electoral, whether it is through diplomatic manner, whether it is through militarily, but we need to understand where they stand. And unfortunately, as of now, the Chinese PLA or whether their entire system of communication has been trying to prove that India has intruded, which is not true. And we need to clarify that. Thankfully, the PMO has clarified and we stand satisfied, and we also want to continue to reiterate that what we stand for in terms of the Indian map and the territory that we occupy and the territory that belongs to India is the way forward in the future.
Okay.
And anyone trying to change that status quo will have to pay a price for it.
Supriya, one moment. I want to go across to Air Vice Marshal Bahadur. Sir, the Chinese claim the entire Galwan Valley, and they say that that has always been their claim line. How is this factually incorrect in your own personal experience?
As I have tweeted in the morning, when I read the statement, the tweets of the Chinese spokesperson, where he says that the complete Galwan Valley is theirs, I actually said this is hot air. Because in 1978, way back when I was a youngster, we used to fly from Darbuk to DBO via the Shyok Valley. And we hopped across to Shyok. We used to cross the confluence of Galwan and Shyok in the Shyok Valley and proceed. Our maps were very clear. The LAC was marked well to the east of the confluence. And there was never a doubt in our mind that the confluence is very much within our territory.
Air Vice Marshal, just a point of clarification. They are claiming the Galwan Valley up to that confluence. In fact, if I can just ask my editor to have that the first image of Galwan out so that I can just point this out to viewers. Have you ever flown, Air Vice Marshal, into the Galwan Valley itself? Is it possible? It seems very narrow, is why I'm asking.
No, we did not go into the Galwan Valley because there was no requirement. Had there been a requirement, we would have gone, because just across the Shyok, I'm forgetting now, slightly ahead maybe, is Sasar Kangri on the left. I remember doing casevacs from a Sasar Kangri army expedition, which had gone there. So, if there was a requirement to do something in the Galwan Valley, up to the LAC, which was good about, if I remember correctly, 10 odd kilometers, maybe more.
Okay.
We would have gone in.
Okay.
No doubt.
And because your map said it was India. Your map said it was India, but that is the bottom line, right?
Can I?
Yeah. The map said it was India. We were never briefed. We never saw any Chinese activity.
Okay.
No Chinese helicopters and no Chinese personnel.
Supriya, there has been in the last little while a clarification from the External Affairs Ministry as well. I think it's phrased better, in fact, than what the PMO had to issue, where they have said the clash which took place in the Galwan Valley was a clash on our territory, and that there was an attempt by the Chinese to come and create a structure. In fact, our satellite images have been able to detect exactly the debris of that. It is very much in our territory, just about on our side of the line of control. So therefore, is the confusion on the Prime Minister's remarks with Galwan now over?
You know, I wouldn't say it's confusion. I'll tell you what's happening. There are various statements that are coming, and a situation as grave as this was being belittled to one incident. We've lost 20 brave hearts. This is the first combat casualty in decades. We can't just boil this down to one incident. And I'm going to give you my specific objection to this and our party's objection. The Defense Minister says, "Achhi khasi sankhya mein andar aa gaye." The Chief of the Staff says there is de-escalation that's happening. The MEA statement up until the 17th of June, 3 days back, said that structures were being erected on our side of the LAC in the Galwan Valley. You know, these are very, very grave statements. This paints a very grave picture. And then to have the Prime Minister say no intrusion at all, it belittles the situation by an explanation that comes for only one. Yeah. I also think what has happened is that the statement of the Prime Minister yesterday has bolstered China into its devious ways once again. Look at what China did. China issued an international statement to the international community stating that Galwan Valley is a part of its own sovereign territory, which is absolute nonsense, as the two decorated army generals are telling you. So I just think it is not just confusion, it is not just explanation. A government that prouds itself in communication, are they deliberately trying to communicate in a sketchy way? Are they deliberately, there are contradictions in what the government is saying all along.
Let me get General Jaswal to respond to that. General Jaswal, would you accept that information has not been as transparently provided as it should be? That for a few months back, when there were, for example, reports which came out and said that Indian soldiers had been detained on the banks of the Pangong, that was labelled as fake news, but then pictures emerged. Then after that, reports of intrusions were played down. No, there were no substantive intrusions. Even yesterday, the Prime Minister said that there have not been any intrusions. Satellite images have shown clear intrusions in Pangong. You can call it a transgression if you like. Now the MEA has said that there was actually a structure being sought to be constructed in the Galwan Valley, which they removed. So that was a transgression as well. There are reports from the Depsang plains as well of transgressions having taken place. So therefore, the fact that this has not been spoken about clearly seems to many to be a problem. Would you accept that, General Jaswal, this has been a mistake?
I would like to first clarify what exactly is the LAC. Will you give me 2 minutes because it requires some time?
Sir, go ahead.
Yeah. What exactly is the LAC? How it came about in the first place? 59, they had given a line. 60, they gave a line which was further westwards. 62, they came up to that line and did not cross that line. Now that became an acceptable kind of a LAC. Now certain areas like Finger area, which is being objected to, the battle took place at Sirijap 1 and 2 and they probably exploited up to Finger 4. They are not claiming Finger 3. Why? Because the Chinese say that we withdrew from certain areas which were the rear posts after capturing of, say, the battalion over there, and thereafter we withdrew from there. Similarly, in Galwan, the line which is there, it's approximately 5 kilometers upstream. 5 Jat was there. The rear positions were where the current LAC is perceived to be. That is the line. Yes. That was the rear boundary. Now, since the Chinese, they are saying in the Finger area that we came up to Finger 4, we said no. Battle was fought in Sirijap. So that is beyond Finger 8. That is how we used to go up to Finger 8. And who can deny that we have not been going there? Who can deny that they had not been coming?
We haven't been going there for the last few months because when we tried to go there, they beat up our soldiers.
Just a second. Earlier we were going. Now they've built
Now we can't.
also.
And that's why we are discussing this, General Jaswal.
Exactly. Now they have claimed, staked their claim, sorry.
So if they have claimed, does it mean a loss of territory or at least of our claim area? Is that not evident, sir? When the territory has
not been defined.
There is construction in Finger 4 as well, sir.
Absolutely. I'm not denying that.
So then?
But when the territory has not been defined, there are two lines. Their perception versus our perception.
But sir, why do we care about their perception, sir? Shouldn't be caring only about ours?
Well, no. See, you cannot...
Isn't that what you fought for, General?
No,
Didn't you fight for our perception of the LAC?
Vishnu, I will tell you one thing. Unilateralism doesn't work on boundaries. That's the reason.
Okay.
Why did 93 flag-off drill, face-off drill, come into being? 96, why the CBM started off? Unilaterally, you cannot. It's a boundary question, which has been accepted at that time.
Okay, Priyanka, would you like to respond to that? You cannot unilaterally decide on boundaries. That one point.
I absolutely agree with him on this particular issue, and I think every Indian should be backing what his opinion on this is. For us, our LAC, as far as line of actual control is concerned, ends at Finger 8. And how we manage to maneuver that is something which the world is watching. And when the world is watching, India needs to be extremely decisive. India also needs to be united. India also needs to be very clear about what its expectations of China is, while also being very clear about where it stands in terms of its own territorial integrity and sovereignty. And that is where the Prime Minister needs to be extremely firm. I saw his entire video, which of course we've seen a PMO letter, but the Prime Minister's entire conversation does not even talk about China. He does not even mention China.
There's one mention of China in that entire speech, apparently. Yes.
Exactly. He does not even mention exactly where this entire phase-off happened, where our army men lost their lives. So we need to be very firm at this point in time when it is a point of psychological operation, that we show that we are in control and we know what we're talking about.
Okay.
Our conversation has to begin from Finger 8, and there has to be no compromise on that.
All right, and, no compromise on what we believe to be the absolute truth and our area of interest. I'm out of time. I'd like to thank you all very much for joining us. Chances are that this is not the last we've heard of the situation on the LAC this summer. We'll take a short break at this stage. More coming up.